Well guys, sublimation ink in general is pretty cool. However, we've got this brand new neon ink for sublimation. Now what you must realize is we need a color profile specifically for this ink. In today's video, we're going to show you how it's done. So let's get to it. So we're going to go ahead and just open up our InkRIP program. We need to make sure that we've gone ahead and we've connected to our printer using our A tool. And once we've done the connection, then we can go ahead and minimize that. Okay, so now that you've gone ahead and opened up your InkRIP, and it obviously has to be a licensed version, from there we're going to go right to the top left hand corner and we're going to click on the logo itself. From there we're going to go to Color Manager. Okay, so now that this is open, here we have all of our other profiles for our other printers, and what we need to do is go ahead and obviously make a new one. So what we need to do here is go step by step through these panels as it says, and we're going to do the first thing is change our resolution, the DPI. How much clarity do we want while printing? And also this does affect the speed of which you print as well. So as an example, if we had to print at 720 by 360 at that current DPI, it will end up being our fastest print that we have in terms of time it takes to print a square meter. However, that is our lowest resolution. We can go up to 720 by 720. It will then cut that speed in half of from 360. But however, those options there are only for doing something that has very little clarity in terms of detail when you're printing. The artwork doesn't have too much color and it's mostly black and white. Then you want to go and create a color profile that's meant for that sort of thing. But however, because this is full sublimation, we have a blank canvas. We have a lot of color that we can add, and sky's the limit. So I prefer going as far as 720 by 1080p, and that's kind of a middle for me, where it's halfway between being very, very detailed, but also extremely slow while printing. Or you can have a bit of both, where it's still good enough speeds, but you've got that clarity that you're looking for. And this would basically be called what's a 6-pass. Whereas if you want to do an 8-pass, then you'll be 720 by 1440. So we're going to click on 720 by 1080. Next thing is our color group. Now we've only got one single head, and we're only running CMYK. We're not running CMYK light cyan, light magenta. We don't have that extra head, so we're going to go ahead and click on CMYK only. From there we've got 2 bits, and we're going to go ahead and click on the second option here for sublimation. And then our next is our print media. Now every single time in the past, if you have used printing programs before, you would have seen this when you select a color profile. It asks you or tells you what kind of media that you're printing on. In this case, it is a transfer paper. So we're going to click on transfer paper. And then we can go ahead and actually give our profile a name. So I'm going to leave the first section there, and we're just going to go ahead and put LA and then underscore sub and then underscore. We're going to go 6-pass. Okay, you can go ahead and name it anywhere in which you want to. This name is just a reference for you to know which color profile you're dealing with. So now that we've got that name sorted, and I'm just going to do the same name for both, we're going to go and click on ICC, because that's what we're looking for. Now if you go ahead and click on it, you'll see that that disappears. Just try and do the name first. Underscore again, sub, and then 6-pass. Just go ahead and copy it and paste it in. Okay, now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and select our actual device that we're using, which is the i1 Pro, and we're going to go ahead and push next. Okay, so now in our previous videos we used to show a color profiling procedure that we did do, but that was with Flexi. Now we are doing it with InkRIP. So this is going to be very similar, but it's not going to be 100% the same. So we're just going to take it step by step follow what the screen says, and you should come out with the desired result that you want. So let's go ahead and see what our options are. So we can go ahead and we're going to select our visual chart, and we can look at the difference here, and we can see what these two are if we go for a visual chart. So now, as it says here, because the maximum amount of ink absorbed on a certain type of media is limited, you need to find the maximum color block that is not stacked or silted on the ink map, and fill in the ink limit table below. So either you can go ahead and do a scan chart and go ahead and print that out, or we can go and do a visual chart. Now, I like doing the visual chart because for me, it's not necessarily what people want in terms of, let's redirect that answer. If a company comes with a specific Pantone color, that their red is that particular color and you cannot vary from it, then you'll be doing a color profile based on that company's Pantone colors. However, with sublimation, and because our material range is so vast, and the canvas itself, the material itself, is 3 different colors that you might not notice, and that will affect your colors. So you're going to pick a happy medium where you're going to pick either it's going to be just enough ink or it's going to be a little bit less. You don't want it too much, because then you're going to give yourself a headache while pressing, because your paper is going to be oversaturated. So as an example, your materials come in a blue white, a cream white, and a bright white. Now, depending on those different materials, you'll get a different output in terms of color. So that's why I'm saying, if you're going to be doing a specific company logo, Pantone colors, then do that profile based on that particular customer. Whereas if you want a basic color profile for every customer where it's pretty much the same color across the board, then this will apply for you. So we're going to go ahead and print this chart out at 100% of every color right now. Once it's printed, we're going to press it, we're going to bring it back here, and then we're going to go ahead and adjust each one according to the block that we prefer, whether it's just enough ink or a little bit less. Remember, not too much. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to click on print chart. It's going to print it as a PRN. So what we'll do is we'll just leave it on our desktop. Okay, and once that's finished being ripped, what we're going to go and do is open up our alignment tool again, and we're going to go to our test page, and then we'll go ahead and actually print our ink limit. And once we say open, it's going to go start printing straight away. So let's go do so. Okay, so now that this is printed, what we need to keep in mind is that this is oversaturated on the 100% side. So you want this paper to dry for a little bit so that it can flatten out before you go and press it. Otherwise, you'll end up with a bit of ghosting or ink trying to escape, and then you end up getting a false press. So you don't get to see the correct color. So make sure that that dries first. Okay, so we've gone ahead and we've printed our first bit of color swatch here, and we've pressed it in the material that's going to give us the best kind of color. Now, we have to remember that we're going to choose rather materials that have a gloss effect rather than a matte effect, because if you use a matte material, you're not going to get the full extent of color that you're supposed to. Why? Because it will go dull. So we want it to have that gloss effect so that we can actually pick up the colors while scanning in our next process. So now that we've got this printed and pressed, now we're going to see which of our inks we want to limit so we don't have oversaturation and bleed off and run off of our ink once it's pressed. So we're going to go ahead and look at one at a time and then adjust it on the computer. Okay, so our first line that we're going to look at is cyan. Now, as the program suggests to us, we need to look to see which one isn't bleeding off or oversaturated. So, in my opinion, keep in mind this is meant to be cyan, and cyan is of the lighter color spectrum. It is not royal blue or just blue standard. So, I want to go for more or less around the 45 to 35. So I'm going to go halfway and go to 40%. Now you can go much higher if you want the darker blues, but in my opinion this is actual cyan as the word suggests, so we're going to go for more or less that color range. So in actual fact I'm going to rather pick 45 because there's no let's say there's no white dots of no color, whereas you would get that, let's say if we look at this black line here where my finger is, you can see there's a lot of dots and a lot of white shading in between there, and that's not what you're looking for. So let's go back to cyan, and we're going to go with a 45. So we first go to our program over here, we click on the 100 that's currently there, and we just type in 45. Then we can move over to magenta. Now here magenta is supposed to be a mix between purple and pink, but a brighter kind between the two. And again, we're just looking at oversaturation or undersaturation, which one is in between. And I'm really looking at the 70 to 75. I think I'm going to go with a solid 70%. So we'll go ahead back to our program, make sure we've selected on the magenta, and then we just type in 70, and then we click onto yellow. Yellow, I must be very honest with you, this is probably going to be the most difficult one, purely because it is so difficult to see which one is oversaturated. Normally I like to go, if it's like this where you can't tell, the yellow, it's always better to go more yellow than less yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and go with a 70% yellow. It can be changed later if you find it is too much. So again, go back to our program. We're going to go to our yellow over there, and we're just going to type in 70. We'll go next to K. Okay, so K is black, which is this line here. Now, this one, you have to pay attention to whether or not you are giving too much or too little. So what I normally do is I pick up my material. Because black is difficult to ascertain, we normally take our black and we put it next to something else that is actually black itself. So if you look at our mouse, and let's say we start off on the lower side, you can kind of see that no, that is more gray, and we'll go to this color here, you can see it's more black. Okay, cool. So our percentage is around about the 55 range. Now once you've done that, you can do another test, and that's the pull test. So what we do is we take our material and we stretch it, and we can see which one shows too much white, whereas around the 55 to 65 range, when you go ahead and you stretch it, you can see it's still black, it doesn't turn gray, and there's still quite a bit of black in that range there. So I'm going to go ahead, keeping in mind that we don't want these white lines to be hidden. I'm going to go with 65% black on K. I'm going to go with a 70%. Again, it can be changed later. Okay, so now that we've done that and we've entered all of these ranges, what we're going to do next is go ahead and print our next swatch, where it will now move all of the current figures that we had from 100 to 0. It will now only print from the maximum limit that we've set per color, and then we can see whether or not there's oversaturation in that last block on the left, where we would have to see if we can see the white lines in between each print. If you can't, that means we need to go less ink. If you still can and you want to go more, you can still change it afterwards. But let's go ahead and print and then press this next piece. Okay, so we've gone ahead and we've printed that next color swatch and pressed it. Now what you're going to do while looking at this next section is whether or not there's just too much ink, or we got to the point where there's enough ink where everything is covered and it's not too light or too dark. So this point here, I'm going to leave it as it is, and we're going to go to the next section. Keep in mind that whatever you decide to do here, it can be modified later. So if you find that one of your colors was just a bit out, not enough, or too little, you can always come back and start this procedure again. Yes, you'll be pressing everything again, but you'll get more of an accurate answer than you're looking for. Keep in mind, it all depends on what material you're using, will depend on what color output you're going to get. So let's click next and let's see what we have to do next. So we're going to go ahead and push next, Okay, so now that we are here, our next option here, it says in order to control the stable linear output of our monochrome ink, the linear scanning is required. So we're going to go ahead and use our color profile machine here. And after we've printed our chart, we're going to go ahead and measure it. So what we'll do here is just go ahead and print chart, and then we'll go ahead and press it afterwards. Okay, so we've gone ahead and pressed that next one that we had to print. So now we need to go ahead and click on measure charts so that we can continue with the next process. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click measure chart. And now what we need to do is go and take our measuring tool, our device, and we're going to say start measure. And then what it's going to do is initialize our color profile machine. And then once that's finished, it's going to flash white. From there, we're going to take it and then put it on our bracketer so we can start measuring. Okay, so there you go. As you can see, it's flashing white. So now what we do is we take our profile machine. We need to make sure that we put it in the bracketer according to those slots. And we're going to start in this white space here. So that eye has to be hovering over that white area there. So once we put it in place, go ahead, check that it's in the white area. Now there's a button on this left hand side here. You're going to go ahead and hold it down, and with one smooth motion we're going to go all the way to the left and then let go. Now if it flashes green, that means that you did it perfect. If it flashes red, it's going to tell you to do it again. So now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next color. So let's go and just pick up our bracketer, and we're going to move over to the magenta. And again, all we do is make sure that we start on the right hand side, and make sure you've got no other color showing here. Okay, so we go there, hold down the button, and with one smooth motion we go all the way to the left and then let go. Okay, cool. As we can see, it was green. Now also on the screen, it's busy telling us that scan line 2 was succeeded. So we've got 2 more to go. Let's move on to the next one. Next one is our yellow. So just move that over to the right hand side. Again, we hold it down, one smooth motion, not too fast, and then we let go. Again, we did that one correctly. So now we've only got black is our last line left. Just want to move this up. And then we go ahead and put our bracket down, and let's do our last one. Again, make sure it's in the white area, click the button, hold it down, one smooth motion until the white area, and then there we have it. So now we've finished doing all 4 lines. In essence, now that we've finished that, we can go ahead and take our profile machine, put it back on its base plate, and now that we've finished all those scans, what we're going to do is go ahead and push OK, because now we have got all this information that has been set here so that we can print our next piece to measure. So let's go ahead and say OK, and now that we are here, we can now go ahead and see our next setting. So parameter setting, ink channel, we've got CMYK. Now either we can offset this, so we can increase it or decrease it according to what we would prefer on this linear line that we've got here. Now this is our curve of percentages for ink for every color, so that we can eventually get to our CMYK color base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore this section for now, and we're going to go ahead and print our result, which is number 4 there, to see if the scan did its job. So let's go ahead and push print. Okay, so we're back here again with our next piece that we printed and also pressed. Now, as you can hear behind me, it is raining cats and dogs, but yeah, we're in South Africa, we carry on as life is never different. So let's have a look at our next piece. All right, so as per our, we didn't do record.
Okay, you can just record now because.
Okay, all right, I apologize.
No problem, I'll go tight.
Okay, all right, there we go. So as we can see here, our last port of call was to print this chart. Now, this chart is merely going to show us what our print is going to look like if we had to do a full color job. So if we have to look here, we've got to look at the reds, you know, we look at everything else here. The only problem that we've got here is that our reds are almost orange. So what we'll need to do is go ahead and adjust that to fix that. Now, the easiest way you can do that is by starting again right from the beginning, and then having a look at your original swatches that you printed, and we need to go more aggressive on the Y plus M, which is supposed to be your R from RGB, which is your red. So now, as you can see, we have an orange hue, so we need to go back to the beginning and increase our magenta and yellow to give us more red. So, but what we're going to do is continue so we can finish this color profile, so we can show you what we were actually meant to do in the first place. Like I said, we can always go back and change these things. That's the nice thing about this program. So we're going to go ahead and push next. All right, so the next thing we've got here is a ink limit mixed limit test. So first thing we need to do is go ahead and print the chart. Once we've gone ahead and done that, we can then fiddle with our percentages. Then we'll print the chart again, and then we'll go ahead and print the linear chart, and from there we should be on to our final process. So let's go ahead and print our first chart. Okay, so just before we push next on this panel, so we can go to the next option, I just wanted to show you, if you look at the print that you've just done here, and you notice that you're not happy with one or two of these colors, you can go ahead to your parameter setting here. You can find the color channel that you're looking for. Let's say it's black, and you can just go ahead and either increase or decrease the amount that you want. So however, we're just going to go ahead and push next so we can go to our next panel. So we go down here and we push next. Okay, so what we've got here is a ink limit mixed limit test. So we're going to go ahead and print that chart, and then we're going to go and adjust our limit settings that we've got here according to how much color is there, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we've gone ahead and we've printed and pressed this next piece that we printed. So what we need to do now is go ahead to our program here, and we need to look at our 2 mix ink, 3 mix ink, and our 4 mix ink. And you can see there's a percentage on the right hand side for each of them. So what we need to do is go ahead and we look at our first set. So we've got our CMYK here. Now we've already gone ahead and changed the colors here for the percentages that we wanted. So what we need to look here is our 2 mix, 3 mix, and 4 mix color. So let's go ahead and look at our first mix color. Our first mix color is including our magenta yellow, cyan yellow, and cyan magenta. Now that will equal red, green, and blue. So what we need to do now is go ahead and see which of these percentages come out the best looking. So whether or not you want to leave it at 200 or decrease it, that is completely up to you. So let's go ahead and look at our spaces and gaps here. So basically everything looks the same in terms of the lettering at the top as well as the percent here. And I'm going to say that there's not too much ink here. So I'm going to leave the 200% there. And the same goes for these other two here. It's not oversaturated. I can't not read the letter as well as the 200, although it is backwards. There's no difference between the 200 here and the 110 there. Same goes between the 200 here and the 110 there. You can still read both of those and the letter at the top identically. So I'm going to leave this at 200%. The next one we need to look at is our 3 color mix, which is cyan, magenta, and yellow. So again, what we're going to look here is oversaturation. Can we still read the R? Can we still read our letters? And in my opinion, you need to also look at the color and shading. So it goes from a nice light gray and all of a sudden it's dark gray, then darker gray, and then almost a dark green. So in my opinion, I'm going to move this over to over here, which is at 260%. So what we need to do is go to our program, and we're going to go to a 3 mix color here, and like I said, we're going to go with 260. So you just click on it and then go 260 with your keyboard, and then you can click on the next one there. So now we're going to look at our 4 color mix, and here it comes down to all the colors. So you've got black, cyan, magenta, and yellow all mixed into one to get you that pitch black color, that really good black that you're looking for, so that no matter how much you stretch your material in either direction, you know, you still get that color black, which is very important. So what we need to do here is go ahead and decide whether or not this color should be left alone or should we decrease it. The first thing I'm going to say is, if we're looking at the lightest side versus the darkest side, I can't tell the difference at all. There's no difference in between reading the letters, you know, they're the same. The pitch blackness of it, you know, if you stretch it out and just going down, they look identical. Now if you feel like it's too much, again, you just go ahead and you can adjust it on that 4 mix color there, but I actually am going to leave it as it is, and we're going to go ahead to our next section. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this at the 400%, and we're going to go over to print, reprint observation. So we're going to go ahead and click that, and then we'll come back here once it's printed and pressed. Okay, so we've gone ahead and we've done this one that we said we were going to do, and to be honest with you, I don't see much of a change in color, but it is there and it's very, very slight. However, this isn't the last one, so let's go ahead and print our last linearization effect verification. So we're going to go ahead, print and press it, and then we'll come back again. Okay, so we went ahead and we printed that linear test, and we've gone ahead and pressed it, and I must say it's looking much better than it was previously. There are color differences, there's a little bit less black involved here, and it's not as dark as it was. Now keep in mind, through this whole process and any given stage, if you're not happy with any of these colors, you just got to go back, adjust it, and then carry on going forward until you get to this stage where you are printing someone's face and you're getting the correct color tones and making sure that it looks more like a real picture than something that's artificial. And that's basically how these color tests work, is they're using these images so that they can show you whether or not someone's face is actually printing the correct color, or do they look red or blue or some other yellow color like they've got Lyme's disease. So from here we can go ahead to our program, and now that we've finished with this panel, we're going to go ahead and push next. Now we're on our last panel, and basically what we've got here is file contains the color gambit of the current printer, which can make the printed color more standard. Please print the chart to measure it and create the ICC. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and print our last chart over here, and then we're going to use our color profile machine to scan it, and then we'll be onto our last panel, which generates the ICC profile. So let's go ahead and push print. Okay, so now we've gone ahead and we've printed our last piece. We've gone ahead and pressed it, and as you can see, it's a multitude of colors, and we've got our section from 1 all the way to 31, and from A all the way to 2C, 2D, and RIN. So now basically what we're going to have to do here is go ahead and measure each line so that we can get the machine to calibrate to finish off our color profile. And basically it's going to look at all these different colors and shadings to make sure that we've got the correct color profile and the correct ink limits set for this profile. So let's go to it, and let's get this done one by one so that we can finish off our color profile. Once we click on measure chart, we're going to have to make sure that's got continue selected. Then we go ahead and say start measure, and that's going to quickly calibrate our color profile tool so that we can start actually scanning each line for line. Okay, so we're doing our last row here, and there we go, successful. So we go ahead and put our device back on its docking station, and now what we need to do is go ahead and push OK. If you go and you see it says the scanning data is not completed, are you sure you want to end the measurement? So what you need to do is go ahead and see if you've skipped or missed a line. If you haven't, it will show you that everything is done, and then you can just say OK. And what we've got is our last panel here. So first thing we look here is all black color separations. So there, if you go ahead and tick it, it stops you from changing everything that's here in the middle. Now, some people want it, some people don't. If you untick it, basically what this means is that it's a slope. So in essence, we're only talking about black here and the curve itself. So do we want black to start off strong and ease into it? Or do we want a set standard black where it's the same across all printing, no matter whether or not it's mixed black or pure black? Now, if you want a strong black, then you're going to go ahead and increase the curve. This allows you to differentiate between your file size in terms of being large or small, because some ICC profiles have to be very detailed in terms of the amount of color that you want to output, and some can be very, very small. So as an example, if you started off this process with it being 720 by 360 DPI, then you're going to have a very, very small color profile because there's not much data in it. However, if you went and chose a 720 by 1080p or 720 by 1440, then you're going to have a lot more data in this color profile, and you can go ahead and change that there so it's a big or small size profile. And then that's it. There is nothing much to do here other than going straight to finish, and then you save your color profile, and that is it. There's nothing more to be done. If you are wanting to change any colors that you are unhappy with right at the end, after you've gone ahead and pushed finished and saved the color profile, then again, you just go back to the previous settings or pages and you just adjust there and keep moving forward and keep doing it until you are happy. Remember, not every customer is going to want the same color, so this allows you to create different profiles for different customers or different types of color, whether it be a white shirt, a mostly dark shirt, or full color where it has so much color, black doesn't matter. So if you're looking for this color profile, go ahead, contact AM.CO directly so that they can give you the link to CNCU.CO to download that ICC profile. Well guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed this step-by-step process on how to create a color profile, and I hope you realize why it's so important to have an ICC profile for these inks, because they are not your normal inks. And it goes without saying, if you want to see videos like this in the future, go ahead, click on that subscribe button and the bell icon so you can get notified on our future videos. And we'll see you next time.
AI may eventually take over, but what's for certain is that smart machines are already operating all over the world right now. So stay ahead with AM.CO.za. For 11 years, they've been the leader in CNC and printing machines like CNC routers, large format printers, vinyl cutters, laser cutters, plasma cutters, DTF printers, and many more. Visit am.co.za showrooms in Sunny Rock, Joburg, and Montague Gardens, Cape Town, or WhatsApp hi to 060 600 6000 for more. am.co.za. Achievement matters.